We can do it better. Parenting on purpose. You know, the word there is on purpose. So we are not just giving birth to children, feeding them, taking them to the best of schools, but we are purposeful. We are intentional. We are deliberate in the way we raise them, because we have an agenda to raise them to be people who make the world a better place. The greatest legacy that we can ever live as parents is to raise children who make life meaningful, children that will be proud of. You know, when David faced Goliath, one of the questions that was asked that whose child is this? What will be said about you and me, our children? That's very important. That's very profound. That's why we are here. We started this ministry in 2015, and we have been at it. Today is going to be one of the best seminars we'll ever have, and we are honored that you are here to listen. So before we continue, we just want to know ourselves a bit more. Talk to somebody you've never met before. Frida, don't talk to the people you know. Engage with somebody you don't know, somebody you've never met before. Interact with somebody you don't know before. Yes. Thank you. Listen to you, it's as if you don't know anything about leadership. And we are honored to have him here. I'll not waste much time. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we welcome Mr. Samuel Ayim, our resource person for today. Oh, you can do it better. More of him. Show some love, show some love.
All right. Good afternoon, evening to us all. I think we know each other already, so we will start the business. This afternoon, we are going to discuss, and it's going to be we are going to discuss is raising children to be leaders and parenting for purpose. Raising children to be leaders. So I'm going to, as I said, we're going to discuss a lot of things, share a lot of ideas together so that we can all pick the lessons out. 1 second, let me get my slides up. All right. So we're going to discuss around the concept of leadership, because if we are talking about parenting children or raising children for parenting, so we know a lot about parenting. We are just going to apply what we know to leadership and look at the role that we play as parents to prepare our children onto leadership. As you would have learned, and I'm sure that any book you read on parenting and on leadership, you will find that there is no one method. There is nothing that you can say, when you do this, you'll be okay. Right? So there are just principles and ideas. Child, for me to be where I am and what I'm doing for my children and others. Children to be leaders. What were your expectations for coming here? What were you thinking about? What are you expecting to hear this evening? So I will start from here. It's a discussion. It says front row. Anybody? What were we expecting? What's the expectation for this evening? Wonderful. You see, the baby is clapping for you. Good. Thank you so much. Next row. Yes. Okay. Any magician here? And when we were young, we tried to learn magic, but it didn't work. We did. We wrote to India and ordered for holy handkerchiefs and all those things. Hey, Charlie, we tried. Last row. Yes, the green row. Okay. Is there a framework or a pattern? All right, great. Thank you all. So we are all going to share, and hopefully, but if we get to the end and your expectation is not met, stop. We'll continue till your expectation is met. All right. So that's good. So let me ask another question around the topic. At what point in a child's life do you want to see them leading, raising children to be leaders? So at what point in the life of your child do you want to see the child leading? Conception, birth, primary school, secondary school, university, when he becomes a doctor, politician, managing director. At what point, when you say you're going to learn principles, framework, advice on how to raise your child to be a leader, at what point do you want to see him leading? Anybody? This time. Pardon? From birth. So the baby should start leading. Okay. All right. We'll come to that and see. Yes? Okay. So from preschool, from birth, from preschool. All right. Anybody else? Yes. To speak. Okay, when the child starts to speak. All right, good. Yes. Soja. When the child learns how to walk, then they will start leading. Anybody has any different ideas? Now, why did he say from birth? When you start early. So how will the child be leading when he is born? We want the insight. We want to see where the thinking is from, because that's what is important. It's not the information. Yes. Mm-hmm. You follow the child's needs. Leads. Okay. Example. Okay. Okay. So the child is leading you, or you are leading the child?
The child is leading by exploring the environment.
Okay.
Because he is a scientist that is exploring the environment. And because he's going to where danger is, you go in there.
Okay.
That is why you need also to make sure that you scan the environment and you remove all dangerous situations that will lead him or her.
Okay. Okay. Good. So we are learning, no. There is no learning from anywhere. Let me just share a principle that you can apply. or use as you are taking your notes. Okay? So if there's some idea, some example, some whatever advice, suggestion that works with you that you want to apply, you note, you write A against it. Apply. This is good. I'm going to apply this one. Okay? If there's something that comes up that you think you were doing it differently, but now you want to change, okay, that is a C. So you put C, write the note and put C against it. Something to change. Or something comes, I say, this is a great idea. I'm going to teach. Your husband is not here. I'm going to teach my husband, teach my wife, or teach somebody else, the people in my group. So that's a T. So it's ACT, act. A for apply, C for change, T for teach. So as we go along and as we to teach. So take your notes that way and it will be very good. So different ideas. Now, when we come to look at leadership, maybe some of these things will come together and then we would see. So let me ask another question. How will you know your child is leading? How will you know your child is leading? Because we say we are raising children to be leaders. How will you know that your child is leading? Okay. I wanted to go to the back, but Mr. Labi, my countryman. Okay. Okay. How the child takes responsibilities. Okay. Yes. At the back. Any ideas from the back? How will you know your child is leading? Yes. Okay. 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 All right. Organizes how he does things. Yes. How he reacts when nobody is there. Okay. So what will he be reacting to? How he behaves. How he behaves. I remember when we were young, and my mother used to beat us. So when he goes away like this, Charlie, the house, and when he's coming from the market and we hear, Mommy, you run back home. He's trying to be right. So, all right. Any ideas? Yes, at the back there. Okay. Okay, so if the child is taking charge of his situations, he's taking responsibility. If the child is holding people accountable or holding himself accountable, which one? Okay, that's both. That answer is not good for politicians. They don't like that one. It's when they are holding others accountable, they are not inside. Okay, all right. Okay, let me ask another question. When you say, I want my child to be a leader, what do you mean? I want my child to be a leader. What do you mean? To take initiative, yeah. Own it. Drive it. And execute it. Great. Take notes, Brofuna Nebano. I'll go Brofu school now. We need teacher in hot. Yes. Yes, you. Your hand was up, nah? And our account, yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Now, all these questions I'm asking center around our concept of what leadership is about. Because if you don't have the right concept of leadership, then the way you bring in your child will be different. Because a lot of the challenges we have in leadership today is from the wrong concept of leadership. A lot of us think that leadership is about positions. And even if you take the primary school there, I think it's a civic education or life skills, and they are discussing leaders. You will see the photos they put. The leaders, the MP, the chief, the police. You will see those pictures. Those of you whose children are in the check book. Those are the images. So for us, and for a lot of people, the leader is somebody who has a position of power and authority. So that becomes our view of leadership. But we want to submit that that is not exactly correct. Actually, leadership, some people have positions, but they are not leading at all. The fancies will call it Simpapeni. Any fancy here? Any fancy here? And Chero cross the street and Chekaro no koa. And Chebe say what? All right. So the three dimensions to leadership that I want to share now, and I also want to share quickly 3 pillars of leadership, and then there will be the basis for us to discuss some of the things that we will share. Number 1, the 3 dimensions. First one is personal leadership. Personal. Number 2, private leadership. And number 3, public leadership. Now, a lot of what we see about and say and hear about leadership revolve around public leadership. He's the MP, he's the minister, he's the pastor, he's the president, because he is out there in front directing everybody, and everybody is kowtowing, giving instructions. That is public leadership. And so a lot of us see leadership just in that respect. But there are 2 levels or dimensions that are even more important than the public leadership. And that, the first one, the most important one, is personal leadership. How you lead yourself. How you take responsibility. How you discipline yourself. Set your own goals. Be able to achieve them. That is personal leadership. And if you are not able to lead yourself well, then the other dimensions are going to be difficult. Actually, John Maxwell, those of you must have read about John Maxwell, is reputed to be the #1 expert in leadership. He's written more books on leadership than anybody else. He asked the question, if you can't lead yourself, why should anybody follow you? So if you cannot lead yourself, then really nobody should follow you. But unfortunately, there are so many people we've put in public positions who don't know how to lead themselves, and they expect us to follow them, and they're taking us, all of us, into a ditch. Okay? So personal leadership is very important. So when we think about leadership, and we say, I want my child to be a leader. At what point do I want my child to lead? And all those questions that we ask. The point that we are trying to drive home is, let us have the right concept of leadership, and then we'll be able to help our children in those dimensions. Does that make sense? Okay? So personal leadership is the first one. How is the child able to wake up, clean his bed, brush his teeth, take his homework when nobody is there, when everybody is looking at us? How does the child behave and take charge and does things himself? That is personal leadership, and it is the foundation of all leadership. Integrity, honesty, and those things all come there. into personal leadership. Private leadership is the relationship between you and your close relationships. Your friend, your spouse, your children. Between the two of you, when you are interacting, how do you affect them? How do you treat your housemate? That's private leadership. Nobody is there. When you come and you are the a Marco leader or something in the church, that's public leadership. That one, when you come, you comport yourself well. You can sing and preach and speak tongues and do whatever. And everybody says, yeah, she's a great leader. Then you go home and your housemate, your house help, you treat her basta. She's not eating the whole day. All the time that you are in the church and shouting, you've locked her out, no food. And once you come home, hey, akosia, okay. That's private leadership. All right, and when we come to look at what leadership in the core is, all this also come into effect. All right. Does this make sense? The way, any questions? Yes. Yeah. Let me say that it's difficult, okay? Because for our system of governance where you have to vote, sometimes you don't even know the person, okay? And then he comes around, they bring you some bentois, some go to the village and share some cutlasses and all those things, and then you vote for him, and that's it, you're gone. So with our system of government, it's difficult. But when the person doesn't lead himself well, sooner or later, it will show. It will show in their speech. It will show in the way they conduct themselves. And it's showing everywhere. We see it on our radio station. Listening to them when they are talking. When there is an issue, you and I know the thing is black and white. Look at what they say. Okay? It's clear that integrity is not there. Honesty is not there. They're just defending their turf. And they're just saying anything to just woo us one way or the other. So there's an abundance of evidence of people who are not honest, who don't have integrity, because they're not disciplined in themselves. All over. Corruption is an example. I mean, if you really lead yourself solidly and you're disciplined, you know that when you have the public asset, or even between the two of you, private leadership, you're not going to take it for your own self. So it's unfortunately, for example, you don't choose your pastor. A lot of the time you don't. And yes, they speak and preach to us. But some of them, in their private, they will teach nicely and preach nicely. But that sermon is not for him. It's just for others. So sometimes sooner or later it turns up. Sometimes it will take a long time and nothing will happen. But over time it shows. So it's difficult, but yeah. All right. Any other comments? Yes, question at the back. As I said, we are discussing, so please share your views also and ask any questions. There's no stupid question. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Yes. Yes, please do. That's a bro focus here. Me work as a man TV. Okay. All right. So that is a classic question in all leadership classes, whether leaders are born or made. Okay. I think the easiest and simplest answer is that each one of us is different. Okay, that's the first level. So we are all different. There are some people who are born with predisposition to lead. There are some. Just like some people are born with the gift to sing, right? And some of us with abochi, you know. But studies and evidence have shown that everybody can learn, because leadership is about some behavioral tendencies which can be learned. Okay, so people who are born with some predisposition seem to get those things faster than others. For example, one of the key qualities of leadership is relationship with people, because leadership is about people. There are some people who are born with that personality that they easily connect with people. So with those people, it's very easy for them to relate. But with others, they have to make an effort. There are some people who feel, for when they were up to secondary school to university, they feel that they cannot even stand up and talk in public. Communication is a key requirement of leadership. There are some people who are even afraid to talk. But over time, when they are helped, they can communicate effectively. It's not that they don't have anything to say. It's just there's some inhibition. So, long answer to your simple question. Our children are different. And that's one of the big challenges parents have. Our children are totally different. Unfortunately, we were not trained in parenting. So when we have those children, we begin to apply what we know, how our mother treated us, or the things we've learned, to all of them the same way. And then, we begin to put them in the same line. And one of them says, me, I'm not walking here. I say, you can't see your sister. Your sister is always respectful and obeying you. You are disobedient. He's not disobedient. He's just different. He has a different personality. Now, one of the things parents need to understand is the different personalities and how to mold them, because they learn differently. And so if you use the same method for both of them, you'll find that one will rebel. The other one will be okay. Okay? So, some of you know the different personalities. There are different methods and theories and systems to determine personalities. Okay? So I'm certified as a DISC personality analyst. So I read a lot about people. So there are different ones. There's the basic ones, the sanguines, and all those things. So you can read about personalities. And when you understand, you see that your children, you can easily classify them where they are. And there are different ways to mold them along the way. Does that help? Yeah. So it's not that one is bad or one is gone wayward. Sometimes the way we try to push them into the mold is what make them rebel, and then we say they are bad or might be rebellious, because the methods we are using are not the right methods for them. Okay? All right. I saw a hand somewhere here. Is that okay? Adisiana ni yesiano. Ana. No. All right. So those are the 3 dimensions. And these are called the 4 pillars of leadership. Okay? So there are 3, then there are 4. The 4 pillars, I will say them quickly. The first one is what John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. It's the importance of leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. the understanding of the critical role of leadership in our life is so fundamental that if we miss it, nothing works. So this discussion is very important. If our children are going to get this, we have to get it first. So that's the first thing. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Second, the true essence of leadership is influence. Now, that's where the first three questions we discussed were around. Influence is the true essence of leadership. In other words, how do you impact others? How do you influence others? When you see children together, even the children at the very early age, even when they are crawling, and you put all of them together, you will see that somehow they will be coalescing around one of them who will be directing and influencing them. Leadership is about how you are able to influence, impact, and get others to follow you. And that is the essence of leadership. So if we're going to get our children to be leaders, first, we have to make them understand the important role of leadership. Two, to understand the true essence of what leadership is. It's not about power. It's not about knowledge. It's not about intelligence. It's not about the rewards. It's about how is he going to influence, impact. And when you look at it that way, it can be positive or negative. Okay? Because we have, when we were in school, there was one of my friends, we used to call him Red Devil. Red Dog. Okay, you know those guys. And he had a group of boys. And they were feared on campus. You know, they had power. Even some of the teachers were afraid, masters were afraid of them. They had influence. It's just like Atai. You know, everybody is afraid of Atai. I'm Robert. They have influence. When they come and put a gun at your head, you give him your car, you give him everything. But is that the type of influence that we are looking at? No. So influence has a range. Okay? There is intimidation, and then there is force, and then there are different levels up to a point of respect. The highest form of influence is respect. How do people respect you? When you speak, when you give instruction, and that is where sometimes you are in a business or you are in the organization, you are the boss. When you speak, nobody hears you, listens. But one of the guys come and say something, and everybody says, yeah, and they are following him. You say, okay, this Sunday or Saturday, we are all coming to work. You go around, you tell everybody, Saturday we are coming to work. They are not able to say anything. You go to that man, he says, Saturday we are coming to work. He says, what, boss, why should we come to work? He goes, did she say we should come to work? Why is she saying we should come to work? We cry, we didn't understand. We are not coming to work. And all of them now come up and they say we are not coming to work. Okay? It happens in the house. I mean, one of my children, I call her the leader of the house. I will wake up, we do a plan, we are going, and she doesn't want it. And before I realize, she's lobbied everybody. And I come down and ready, people, are you ready? No. Why? But we said we are going. They said, no, we don't want it. Then she'll come, Daddy, but why should we go? And everybody will be like, yeah. She's the leader. She's the one who has the influence. At that point, my leadership is off. You can dictate and use your power, your position, as father but at that point, if they are doing it, they are not following you. It's like story of this young boy who was sitting in his father's car, and he would get up and stand, and the father would say, sit down. Then he would sit down for 2 minutes, he would get up again. Hey, sit down. You sit 2 minutes, and then he beat him. Sit down. I said, sit down. Then she said, yeah, I'm sitting down, but I'm standing. Okay, so sometimes you think that people are following you, but they are not following you. They are sitting down, but they are standing. Okay, so in leadership we say If you think you are leading and nobody is following you, you are only going on a walk. So there are some leaders like that. They think that they are leading, but nobody is following them. Influence is the essence of leadership. Then the highest form of leadership, is self-leadership. What we talk about, the personal leadership. The highest form of leadership is self-leadership. If you're not able to lead yourself, forget it. Then the final pillar, the highest purpose of leadership, is to add value to others. The highest purpose of leadership is to add value to others. If you are leading and you are not making life better for people, then you are not meeting the purpose of leadership. Unfortunately, a lot of people in leadership positions are fighting to add value to themselves, stealing all our money, sharing it among themselves, family and friends, and then they come and tell us stories. If you are leading and you are not making life better for others, then your leadership is suspect. So you've been in that organization, that position, that role for several years. You are the father, you are the mother, and you are not making any valuable impact into the life of the people, then it's not. So the 4 points, everything rises and falls on leadership. The true essence of leadership is influence. The highest form of leadership is self-leadership. And the true purpose of leadership is to add value to others. Leadership is not about the leader. It's about others. So we're sharing all these things. So when we talk about we want our children to be leaders, we have to understand what we want from them. Okay? We want them to understand that the influence that they have is so important and they have to use it well. We want them to understand that you cannot say you're a leader and you're not disciplined to lead yourself. You want them to understand that the purpose of leading is to add value. And that's where sharing and caring for other people come in. All right. So, any questions on that? Then we'll move on quickly. How much time do we have? We have more way to go. Okay, we have time. All right. So, to sum up on the leadership concept, I just give you back what John Maxwell says. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. It's about influence, your ability to influence, take people from one point to another to achieve a goal, people following you, listening to you, hearing you. All right? So that is where we want our children to be. We want our children to get to a point where they are able, when they speak, people hear them. When they get to a place, they are impacting life. When they are on their own, they are able to take responsibility of their lives, with or without us. They are able to take care of themselves. Okay? All right. So, let me run quickly through some of the core leadership skills. That's why I'm not going to explain. Number 1, planning. Number 2, execution. 3, problem solving. Very important. Decision making. That's 4. 5, leading change. This is very important. The ability to lead change, to go to situation, change the environment, bring new ideas. That's key to leadership. That's the critical difference between leadership and management. Managers maintain things. Leaders bring change and manage change. Okay? So, I have this story where they said this guy went to his friend's house and wife served fufu covered as usual. And when they opened the bowl, all the good meat was in front of the visitor. And owner of the house, he hold the bowl and say, "Kwesi, geographers are bad. They've turned the world round like this." By the time he finished, all the meat was in front of him. This naughty visitor, what did he say? Yeah, if they've turned the world round like this, let it remain as it is. All right? So that's what managers do. they keep things as they are. They maintain systems. They don't, you're supposed to come to work at 8, it's 8. 5 minutes past 8, you are late. What does the rule say? The procedure says this. That's not how leaders do. You are supposed to come to work at 8, yes. You are late 10 minutes, twice. The leader will call you. What's going on in your life? Why are you always late? Is there something I can do to help you to come to work at 8? Can we do something about it? That's the difference between the manager and the leader. Because leadership is to add value. You want to understand the person. You are leading because of the person, not because of you, not because of the rules, not because of the systems. But that's what managers do. They are important. They maintain the system, they keep the rules and so on. But leaders want to understand the human being and add value, help them to be better. All right? So that's 5, 6. Persuasion and influence. You can put that together. Then growing people and teams and interpersonal skills. These are some of the skills that you want to find ways of inculcating into your children. All right? So planning, execution, problem solving, making decisions. Okay? There are some of us, we make all the decisions for our children. We don't allow them to make decisions. When they grow, it becomes difficult. Okay? Leading change, persuasion and influence, growing people and teams, and interpersonal skills. Now, all right, so let me go a bit personal here, and let me share a bit of my story and to see what of the things that I've done. And as I said, whatever I've done, whatever I've gone through, how I've become, how my children have become, and others, it's not a formula. It's not a framework. It's not a magic. Okay? Yes, boss. Your hand is up.
Experience with that, sir. There's something bothering my mind, and I need a quick affirmations or otherwise to it.
Yes.
So with the nice variables you've touched on, I'm looking at it from the angle where a child finds him or herself in a very good family, and all the variables we've touched on gets that benefit thereof. I'm looking at it otherwise, where the child is born in a very radical environment, had no opportunity of this sort, didn't get formal education and all that. The intent of my question is I'm looking at spirituality, how it is related to leadership. So we have children who didn't get this exposure and all that, but they are now leaders, had no formal education, born into some Zongo-like communities. They didn't have
me.
Like very radical, and now they are leaders.
Yeah.
From where you sit as an expert, that spirituality shapes our destiny with respect to leadership when people don't get such good variables and all that growing up. Thank you.
Okay, somebody wants to bail me. Yes.
Not to be able to complicate it, I'd actually written it here that I also wanted to touch base on the aspect of religion and its influence on leadership. Because, for example, when you asked that latter question about what we expected, for me, what was coming clear was we're Christians. We're Christians, so we're looking at how the Holy Spirit first and foremost influences us to take certain decisions and do certain things that are worthwhile and need to be done. So in the Bible, you'd find David, Daniel, who would defy the king's orders and would do what he has to do. The 3 Hebrew boys who would do what they have to do, knowing who is influencing them. Yeah. So in that light, they do it. So linked to his question, and also some experiences back in school, where I realized that a vice president of the SRC, i.e. who was Christian, was not leading as much as you'd have expected. But when we had a Muslim, he was doing far better because he was going with certain precepts. And personal examples, you'd live abroad and then you'd see that people would have integrity on the personal leadership, self-leadership side, where they can go into shops and pay for things and pick the change, and put the exact amount, but others don't do same. So I'm just looking at all those dynamics. That's why I thought I'll add it to his, because it's about religion, Christianity, spirituality, all that, how all those also have its own impact.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Great questions. From my perspective, I'd go into one word: values. Values. Now, your beliefs, your values, those are important elements of your personal leadership. Now, and I like the point you made. Sometimes we think that somebody is tongue speaking, knows all the Bible, and therefore he must be a good leader. Wrong. Because leadership is a certain set of skills. And so if you don't learn those skills well, you may not be able to lead well. But those goes, the religion and all those go to your values. So, for example, you have a Christian who says, I don't drink alcohol, I don't fornicate. But you give him to lead a church, and the church is not growing. Okay? Now, I mean, this week there was a WhatsApp group, and I decided to poke up I have a WhatsApp platform, a Christian platform. I decided to just disturb the peace a bit, so I shared it. And I think I still had 4 wives. Maybe some of you may have seen it. He had 4 wives. He lived 190 years. You've seen that one? Okay. This one sent it to you. Okay. So then it comes to John, has 1 wife. He's a doctor, hating homosexuality and all that. You see what I mean? So sometimes we should differentiate between some of these things. It's very easy. And those of us, when we are going to marry too, we make those mistakes. Oh, this brother, he's so joshua. Yeah. I'm making sense. But the point is this. In a vacuum, you should influence positively. Okay? So it's not the armed robber influence. You see what I mean? So they are all important, and values are so important into a person's character, because character is also very important in leadership, and that's where values play. So values, religion themselves don't have. You see, leadership is a universal principle. And good leaders can come from Islam, can come from Christianity, can come from Buddhism, can come from anywhere. Okay? Gandhi was a Buddhist. As they reputed to be one of the leadership references. I don't know if Nelson Mandela went to any church. But today when they talk political leadership, he's counted among one of them. So we should distinguish that and begin to teach leadership from the foundations and let people understand the principles of leadership, and now we can build our faith on top of that. And that is yes, you wanted to say something. We are additional no, so please.
So let me come in with some personal stance a bit. So as I said, some of us who seem to have found ourselves in a very radical environment, not exposed to some of these fine variables of you growing up and becoming. Growing up, I only saw my mother, irrespective of the radical environment, always pray. You wake up, you will see some woman praying and all that. I believe that I'm calm-headed this time around of my life because of those prayers.
Absolutely.
Left to that, I don't think with the exposure, having sold weed, having done drawing, having done those things, would have enabled to what I have gotten to this far.
Yeah.
So, from the more reason I ask spirituality and leadership, because, and my other siblings believes in the same thing I'm saying, that it is my mother's prayer that has gotten us this far. Yeah. So I had wanted your emphasis on that in a more clarified manner.
No, I mean,
if that holds.
Yes. I had one quote. I think I should. This is Abraham Lincoln. He says, "All that I am or hope to be, I owe to my mother." And I believe that most of us can say about our mothers. It's true. Thank God that works. But I know people who were born to pastors. They were praying, they were teaching, they were all the time, with reading Bible in the house. And somehow it didn't work. And so that's why we say parenting, there's no one formula. So yes, it's true. The house, the home you grow in has an effect on you. Now, what effect it will have on you, it depends on so many factors. Even depend on the personality of the child. Okay, so we thank God for your life. I'm sure that there's somebody whose mother was praying all the time, and still it didn't turn out well. It doesn't mean his mother was not good, or his parents are not good. No, there are several factors that affect how you turn out in the end. Because some people are very, very good when they're young in their home, and then when they go out, no trouble come. Because the house environment kept them, sober. Because sometimes they are really controlled. And especially those of you who grew up in the Beware of Dog's house. Not like you. So, those ones. The Beware of Dog's house, and when they cross 30, then they put ice water is sold here. Okay? But when they go out, no, the things they do, their parents will be surprised. Okay, so I take it that, yes, as values, spirituality is very important for those, but there have been great leaders who are not spiritual in the sense of our definition of spirituality. Okay? All right. So let's see. All right, so I was going to share a bit of my story. And like you, I was born in a village. I grew up in a village. For the first 13 years of my life, walked barefooted to school. The nearest school was 8 kilometers away. So you woke up in the morning, and you first of all, you wake up, you sweep my mother. Well, by the time she died, we were 8 of us. Only our last born was a girl. I'm the first. So woke up in the morning. You have to sweep the compound. And how many of you have stayed in a village? All of you here there. I don't see any village face here. All right, maybe you. All right. Now, sometimes when you wake up, sometimes all the goats and the sheep in the village decide to have a conference at night in one house. And when they decide that day it is your house, by the time you wake up, you are getting out, you have nowhere to step. Okay? And you have to find some cutlass, go and get some sand or some, come and pour it on it and scratch everything, sweep the compound. Go to the nearest stream, fetch buckets of water to fill the barrel, whatever, and then you cook something for yourself. You cook, and usually it was ampesi, bode ampesi, or menke ampesi, and kontomire. Okay, so that's my breakfast. Still, my breakfast is that one. And you cook. Then I was very tiny. In fact, I started school at 7 because the distance was, my mother says, I was too small to walk. And she realized quickly that this boy would never grow. If you leave him, he won't go to school. So I had to go at 7. And I was very, very tiny like that. So you cook, you put some in a bowl, the same thing. Then you use your mother's hair cap because you're going to walk 8 kilometers and it's a hilly area. Okay? And sometimes when it rains, the place is slippery, you can fall down. And if you fall down and your food spills somewhere, your lunch is gone. Okay? So you have to tie it with a hair scarf, carry it. My head here, sometimes it's hot, you put it here, but you have to carry it because I was small. I can't hold it like this. I have to carry it. Recently, I had issues here because, and they were saying that there was some spinal something, and I said, Doc, this one, I know where it came from. Because you carried, when I was big, small, you carried plantain, load of plantain or coal, that distance, because the market is another 1 kilometer from the school. So you have to go with your mother. Okay? And take the thing there to the market to help your mother because Nyamani does. That's what I say. So we used to carry. By the time you go, your neck is like this. Oh gosh, you can't stretch. It's so painful. What will you do? And sometimes by the time, because I will do all those things so before I go to school. And by the time I get to school, sometimes they are in assembly. And I'm now passing, going to go another kilometer before I come back. And then they will all see, Ayim Kumiswa Kenten Kojaha, so they will start singing. So it was my name for a very long time. So Kenten was my name. Okay? But you can't do it. You cannot say you won't do it. That woman, action before complaint. So, you know, when you are cleaning the dishes and she's coming, you have to check that she's not coming to give you some slaps, because she will just give you say, is that how to clean things? So that's how we grew up. And my father had other wives. At the end, we have 15 of us. I'm number one. Unfortunately, my mother died when I was 18. And the old man, most of the time, he's not there. When you need something, he will say, and he's gone. Every funeral concerns him. He'll go on Thursday, come back on Tuesday. And so my mother, and that's one of the things that that illiterate mother did to me. He would say, go to school, go to school. You see your father. Now, at that time, I think he has children from 3, before my mother died, 3 women. When he dies, he has nothing. But whatever he has, they're going to divide it into 3. We were 8. The rest were 1, 2. Because by the custom, that's how it is. That is shared by the women. So, but when you go to school and you get something into your head, nobody is coming to divide that one. That's one advice she gave us. The other thing she gave us, when she's waking you up, beating you, it doesn't wake you up, Boko Kofi, sorry. Anyhow, what? They knew that I never go school. Oh, and start crying. You are crying. You are crying. Go and cook. Then you say, Sumoho and yakwa. Serving yourself is not slavery. So that's how some of us, that's the environment we grew up. Okay? And because of that thing, even when it rains, I'll go to school. Sometimes my colleagues will not go. Long story short, when he died, I had to take responsibility for them. And I remember, that story is a long one. I won't tell you how she died because it's painful. All of you will cry here. So when I saw her on the bed, hospital bed, she couldn't even talk. She was just talking small and said, Kofi, take care of my children for me. Take care of the children. I've been doing this all the time, most of the time. So I didn't understand that was the last message. It was gone. So the children became my responsibility. So, long story short, by the grace of God, and even my other half-siblings, all of them, okay, because God was grateful. And I agree with you when I talk about spirituality, because I believe in it. It's my value. But I just don't want us to make a general this thing for everybody, because it's not always the case. So, now today, I think all the 15 are okay. 2 of them who actually live with me are pastors in the Church of Pentecost. I can understand that a lot of people here are Pentecost. Maybe you know Pastor Isi Kumi. I don't know if you know him. Stephen Amuakun. He's now in Konongo and all those stuff. Then my brothers, what is his name? I don't know if it's Habitat, but I call him Konongo Kaya. Okay. All right. I think 4 of them, one is a pastor in Baptist, one is a pastor in Love Chapel. Others are elders in the church and all that. They are in their own right. Every one of them decently married. They have their children and so forth. So that's where my parenting started before I got married. Okay, I started paying school fees. I started paying school fees from my national service, 6th form national service allowance. Those of you, you don't know 6th form. I was telling Auntie Gifty, who was telling me to go to African Studies. I went to the other side. I didn't know there was one here. I told her that I left this campus 34 years ago. Okay? So, now it's so. Then, by the grace of God, I got married. I have 5 kids, 4 girls and a boy. And today, at least, all of them are also doing very well. I have one, the first one is a special needs girl, but she didn't do any exams. But today, even this morning, the mother is not there. When I woke up, she said, Daddy, I've done breakfast for you. She prepares my breakfast. She takes care of the house. She's like, when she's not in the house, you can't find things. But she never have any certificate, no secondary, no nothing, no. But her passion is in cooking. That's all she does. And she's the leader in that domain. In that, right, okay? The other one went to study law in England. After that, she says she doesn't want to do law again. After I've paid all the school fees, she started the master's, the professional law. The girl says no law. And she wants to do what? Social media marketing for some law firm. So I say, you are sitting in a law firm. The lawyers are taking big money, but she says, Lord, no, I bring on you pass second upper in England. But so we fought for some 3 months. We were not talking. And then I decided that because he tells me, but then me, I'm old. I can decide for myself. I say, yes, sir, madam, sir. All right. The boy finished his master's, also in England, international relationship. He got a job. The 2 of them got jobs. And everything they got, the jobs they got, I have nothing to do. Just write to me, Daddy, we have a job. The 3rd one is in McGill, Canada. She's finishing May. She's ordering me to come for her graduation because she herself, she paid more than half of the fees. The fees is about 60,000. When she said, Daddy, fees is due, I say, I don't have money. He said, okay. By the time I say, okay, the car we use, how old is it? I'll tell her the car. Your business, what was your income last year? I'll tell her. She'll put everything together. She'll go to the finance office and show to them. My father is broke. At one point, I told her, please go and tell them the whole country is broke. The whole country is broke. In fact, we are going to IMF. In fact, I'm sure they checked. Then he sent me all that. She said, Daddy, good news. They've credited my account, $13,000. She's her own. Now, I'm sharing this, not that we're perfect parents, but the few things I'm going to share of some of the things we did. It doesn't mean it will work for you, but it worked for us. Okay? So, parenting is difficult. God gave us the children, but he says we should train them and bring them up. So we have a role in their growing up. And one of the things I teach them is how to negotiate. Okay? Because when they say they need something, you don't get it because you ask. Why do you need it? Explain to me. What's the cost? And I have a chart. The last one. I just have a chart we did yesterday. He's been telling me his laptop is spoiled. So yesterday he sent me a chart. If you have time, I will read it to you. I said, okay. All right, here. Then he will start. I said, why do you need that? You see, the laptop, it cannot even connect to internet. I cannot take to university. I said, okay, how much? He gives me the amount. And then I put the crying emoji. Crying. See, then he said, don't cry. You see, just think about all the money we'll give you in the future. So then I'll say, hey, so I'm going to be rich, but in the future. He says, yes. Okay, I say, okay, but can we get one which is the same specs but cheaper? Okay. Yeah, he goes, okay, there's one. The first one I say is $1,300. Then say, okay. There's one which is $999. Okay. So I said, okay, that's not bad. Okay, give me all the types that you want and let me go and check and see if we can get. So this is a process. I don't just go and say, you want a laptop? Wait. The morning, I bring you a laptop. No, we negotiate. We discuss. We exchange. And that is a leadership quality. The IMF is giving us all sort of things because we are not negotiating well. That's why every time 4 years we'll go back, because we ourselves, we are not negotiating well. We don't know what we need. All right? So I just wanted to share that with you. I have, there are so many children who have gone through me, my hand. Because the way I grew up in the village, when you go to school and it's holidays, every holiday you go back to the village. And when I go to the village and school is reopening, you go from the north to the south of the village and inform everybody that tomorrow I'm going back to school. And this is what will happen without fail. By the next morning, somebody will bring plantain, somebody will bring cassava, somebody will bring a cake of soup, somebody will bring 2 CDs. Abner, Kofi says he's going to school tomorrow. We don't have anything. So this is something small. This plantain you can go and sell. So me, I'm a product of the whole village. So when I grew up, and by the grace of God, every Christmas is the village. With the kids, we go. We park the car because the car cannot go there. That's not your village. Your village where you drive and everybody lights. No, in your village. You park the car. No. Then you walk. That time, by the time I got a car now, I think 3 kilometers of the road, Rollins here, Kakrama. It's not that, but the village people will come down. We bring everything, all the old things we don't use. And for the Christmas period there, party, the whole village. And we make sure that everybody in the village has something. We buy rice, we buy key soap, everybody will get something. And we did that consistently until the old man is now weak. And the old man who says now, now he is with me, he is 90 something. So the mother, this month is 40 years when my mother died. Okay? Now, but the training that she gave us I'm sure that some of us will say, no. How would you beat a child? Yes, I understand. I don't beat my children. Okay? But they know what will happen. There are different ways you can get them to do things. But your environment, all this is to show that your environment has an effect on you. One of the things I want to share with you with my children, we lived in Tanzania for 2 years. And when they were growing up from 10, we had in the house a system of competition. And the competition was around the books you have read. So you read the book, we look at the number of pages, we give you points. And we convert those points. But it's not just you come and say you have read, though. You tell me the story of the book. So you come, you tell me. And when I come, they are coming. Everybody is holding, like if for 2 weeks I haven't inspected what they have read. Somebody has books like this. We got to a point, whenever I was traveling, everybody gives me a list of books. Books need to be. And so when I'm coming from the travel, I go sometime, usually I work for EcoBank for 20 years. And we travel light. Because what you are going to do, you don't have time to wait for your luggage. But I go light, and I come with a full case. When you come to my house, then when he was leaving for UK, he told me, Daddy, let nobody touch my books, because for them books are precious. And that helped in terms of how they turn out academically. But academically doesn't mean anything. But wherever they go, they are able to do, they are independent, they work on their own. When we are traveling, when we are traveling together, I just tell them, we have to travel, or we need to do the visa. Who will do it? One of them will go on the laptop. They will just fill the form for everybody. One day, the one who failed, they gave all of us 10 years. He had 5 years. They say, you people, you cheated me. Me, I'm here, me 5 years. Mwenya 10 years. Okay, because of his age, her age. And when we are going, I say, you people, it's your responsibility to choose where we are going to sleep, which restaurant, hotel you want. They will, everywhere. We had at one point privilege to have a 3-country tour. We went to Dubai, We went to Bali and Singapore. Before we got, everywhere we go to, they know all the hotels. They know the restaurants. They know the places that we can go, and they search everything. In fact, the first time I got to know of this Google map, they know where, they knew this long ago before I know that there's something called Google map. And they know, they will say, oh, no, this is 200 kilometers away. No, this one is, I said, but how do you know? Oh, that they say easy. So I'm going to state some principles that I will share and we'll close, because time, Nico. But I'm sharing this to give you the background to some of the points that I have put down here. I have some quotes. I will share some quotes that I've skipped. We parents have a role to play. God gives us the children, but we have a role to play. But we should also understand that the children will find their own levels. Okay? Recently, I was discussing with a friend who is going through a very difficult divorce. And every time we talk, it's about my children. I say, children. I say, hey, mommy, this thing that you are going through has nothing to do with your children. No. It's you. Because today, if you die, these children, they will still be okay. Yes, they may be difficult for them. I say, look at me. My dad died. We were all in the village those days. And when he died, the children scattered. Eventually, when I got a place, I brought all of them together. Somehow, they will be okay. Take care of yourself first and your marriage. Now, with me, okay. Okay. All right? So, the children somehow will find their way, but we have to, once we are around, we have to take care of them. There are several factors that affect the children, and we as parents have to be aware of, okay? We've talked about personality. Some of them are different. You have to know that. But our behavior as parents, the style of parenting, like if you were being slapped like my mother slapped me, the society, cultural practices, the environment, their schools, and all that are important. All right. So let me skip and give you a few of the suggestions. Number one, be a leader yourself. If you want to bring your children up to be leaders, you must be a leader. Why is this important? I believe that our child specialists will tell us the best way children learn is by observing us. It's us. Leading by example. Influencing by example. So, if you want your child to lead, the things we talk about leadership, let them see it in your life. Let them see you leading in different things, in the church, in this and that. And they knew everywhere. When before they were born, I was organizing Bible camps. I would take them to Bible camps. I would be in the church, leading the church. They see me preaching. They see me teaching. They see me everywhere. Sometimes they see the things I'm doing. I'm sharing with them. So once they are seeing you, the things they see you do, say, if you are insulting everybody in the area and you are being rude to people and all those things, that's fine. Those, for them, that is the important thing. Very soon, they will also be mistreating other people. Be a leader yourself. Number two, allow the kids to take responsibility. We talk about it. Some of us, we want our children, we think our children, they can't even, they go to bathroom, they won't do their bed, they will eat, they won't clean the plate. Then you call somebody's child who is also 12 years, 13 years. They say you're a maid. Or don't uncle for plate, no uncle room, near there, and your child is also 12. Only the uncle's uncle book. That's fine. But you are not helping your child in that way. Let them take responsibility and take control over certain aspects of their own lives. Okay? It's very, very important. Provide opportunities in day-to-day lives for them to get involved. As I said, every occasion when there's things to do, I will say, you do it, you do that, you do this. Okay? Get them involved in what is going on around you. It's also found that extracurricular activities also help develop leadership qualities. Sports and other life skills also help. So let them involve. And for my kids, They will come, what do you want to do? You want to do piano? You want to do swimming? I think all of them know how to swim. I want to do that. I want to do this. Okay, what do you do? I just pay for them and go. They say, I'm going to do this. I'll leave you to go. Saturdays, no. If I have to drop them, I'll drop them. But I allow them into that. Another thing, develop their voice. I don't know how many you have, but this will be number 5 on my list. Develop their voice. Because leadership is about communication, negotiation. People, they need to be able to talk. There are some of us, our children, we are still in the old school. We don't allow our children to talk. And one of my girls in particular, sometimes we are in the car, and there has been a fight. You know, the husband and wife, you know that sometimes there's a fight and there's a silent trade. So, when there's a silent trade, we are driving to church, then she will say, this car is so quiet. I think some people are not talking. You will do this. Daddy, what's going on? I said, I'll tell you. Mommy, what's going on? Fast yourself. All right? At one point they will call. They say, one day they say, no, parents, we have to have a meeting in this house. I said, okay. What is it? This. The way you guys, when we want to do something, we always do this. Okay. Then, after we had a meeting, when I came to the daddy, it's not you. We know who we are talking to. Now, give them a voice, because let them feel free. Because when they go out there, if they haven't learned in the house how to share their issues, they are not going to survive. Correct them when they are wrong. When they have not communicated well, you can have opportunity to teach them. Support them, develop their goals. They are different. So, whatever they want to do, just understand, guide them, and support them. Allow them to take guided risk. It's very, very important, because leadership is about risk-taking. So help them. Now teach them to embrace failure. It's very important. Some of us, when our children go to school and the results are not good, they come, we did your matel. In fact, I remember one day, when I was in the village, I was always first or second. One day, I was number 4. My father beat me. He said, "Utimai ode, udi first, ninti, utimai ode." So say, "I want baby, I could do 4. Next year, I'll be catching, so I do 10." But that is not the right attitude, because failure is important. Yes, we have to guide them to be successful, but let them understand that failing is good, okay? Because if you don't fail, you don't understand success. All right, that's another matter. If you want to read about failure, read John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. Or sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Those are 2 books. Okay. All right. We've talked about some of the qualities, so I'll skip that. The last point I would say is teach your children to read. In these days, here, teach them to read. I've given you the example of what I did. So, my daughter in Canada, her uncle is there. So when she went to Canada, she went to stay with them, and she called me. He was just like, "Look, your daughter knows Canada more than me, who have lived here for 20 years. Because before she went, she's... And the last one, it is the sunlight of parental love and
Prince Frimpong. I think this is about the 3rd time I've been here. Now, assuming you have trained up a child and giving him all the leadership qualities that has been taught here, and then the young adult in the leadership position finds himself in a situation where the status quo is that he is bound to make choices based on affiliations instead of by merit. There are so many examples here now. Now, how do you train a person's character in such a situation? Because by making choices based on affiliations, you find people filling square holes with round pegs, and that's our number 1 problem in this part of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if the question is clear.
Yeah.
It's clear.
It is.
Thank
It is
you.
clear, and I think
So
that goes back to the values that we have inculcated. Okay, when the Bible says train up the child the way he should go, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. Well, sometimes they do. Sometimes they depart from it. Okay?
Well,
but the important thing is that let's build the foundations for the children. Let's give them the values that you're talking about. Once we've shared with them the values, and not just told them, okay, but we've lived those values. We've lived those values. They've seen how we treat people. They've seen how we support people. They've seen that we are not discriminatory against people. They see, even the way you treat them and the maids, okay, in the house. I have a soft spot for maids, okay, because the way we grew up was living with others all along, okay. So when you give them plenty nice food and meat, and the maid who is older, you give them something, they are learning something there, okay. When they can watch the TV and the housemaid who cannot watch the TV, they are learning something there. So all those things, the way we live our lives, have an important factor in how the children learn. And they learn more by examples. So that is one. But of course, apart from that, those of us who go to church and things, they go to your Bible class, you teach them. In the home, your devotions and things, you can teach them. Now, when you've done all that, the rest of it is to pray. Because at the end of the day, only God can determine our destination. We can give them the direction, but only God determines the destination. And when you have a relationship with them well, when they start in their situations, they will come back to you. Okay? I mean, my two of them who have started working, every day they are coming, Daddy, okay. One of them was telling me he had this boss. I mean, they sent a thing. The guy said, no, just started shouting on her. But the mistake was from the boss. But Daddy, how do you handle this? Okay, they'll come back to you. When they are faced with the situation you put in, they know that they can confide in you, they can come. And we should open the doors. Parenthood doesn't end. So it continues. So that's what I would say. I don't know if it helps. But yes. Okay.
It does help, yes, it does. But again, as I'm saying, you may be a leader, you find yourself in a position where you are forced to make decisions based on affiliations.
Yeah.
One good example is you may decide to choose a fellow Pentecostal to fill a position than a better qualified guy who is a Muslim.
Yeah. And
that's a twist you.
Yeah, you have to, and that's why when we started talking the Christians, I said leadership and competence, not necessarily that a Christian. So when you have that position, you're guided by your values, you're guided by your conscience also, and so you have to bring all that into focus and ask yourself, what is the goal? Because leadership is to be able to take people from one place to another. So is the person you are putting to the position going to bring that result you want? Or is just the affiliation that is more important? In some situations, maybe the affiliations, depending upon what we are doing, may be more important than the competence, but that may be very minimal. So situations, as you say, leadership is sometimes situational. And when the question, that's where decision making is also a factor that we have to learn. Yes,
okay,
boss.
thank you.
Yeah, like the speaker said, if we build the value system and we build it properly, I mean, the Bible tells a similar thing about the prodigal son. The associations will come, you go far, and you quickly remember that I don't belong here, so I should go back to what I believe in and what I've been trained for. Again, if you have a very good parenting and you have secured attachment, like he was saying, the children will always come back for social referencing or to come to you for kind of a in-depth guidance or counseling. But if the value that you are putting into your children is that of the fear type, and they are looking for opportunity to even leave home, and now they are out there, nothing brings them down. So we tell parents that, like he said, there is nothing like a good, perfect parenting, but good enough. And our relationship with our children is supposed to be like the lawyer and the client. If you have killed somebody and your lawyer will be able to reduce your punishment or whatever that is, you are supposed to be able to tell him what actually happened. Then he will know where the loopholes and other things, or make the case for it to look in a different way. So our relationship with our children, which starts so early, is supposed to be what we call secured attachment. The children shouldn't develop what we call avoidant attachment, where they should be thinking about what will be your reaction as a parent. But whatever that they have done wrong, they are able to come to you for you to guide them. And if the value system are so strong, the temptations and the straying away will happen, because of we are in a world of different competition and what have you. But not something will prick you and bring you back to the basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me ask one of it then. Externalities. I'm bringing that into the whole parenting conversation because I find that to be very relevant, in the sense that even just like you said, in a community where you're going to school and then people will come and bring things, sometimes people feel they have a role to play in that whole mix. How do you set the barriers and the boundaries? Because to a large extent, there are certain things that you would want to have done, but there's other people, and the externality even goes further to other parents. I mean, like your own parents who are not necessarily in your home, right? They might want to have some levels of influence other than what you'd want to have. And you may have experienced a situation where, for example, Obi pipe later, then they're screaming and shouting at the person who burst it. But that's not what you want to carry on. Like you said, things that people observe, right? Or the fact that you have empathy on certain situations, but people don't have that. Or the fact that people come home and the kids are vulnerable to them because there's the uncle, there's auntie, this, and how people are addressed, but then they take advantage of people. How to guard around those and to ensure that it's something that does not really, muddy the waters, like pouring sand into your gari. That's one aspect. And then the issue of social media versus today's reading, as you talk about. We've had the concept of a lot of reading, not much TV, and things. But sometimes the phone even is the biggest advocate of your thief of time, than even the television. So those are two things I just would be happy to have you talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, external influences. Today, we are in a more difficult environment. And for the parents and uncles and that one, you can see them and you can lock the door against them. You can even talk to them and say, don't come to my house again. So they are not the most dangerous. When we're growing up, that one they are allowed. Okay? Where we grew up, I mean, they can beat you. They beat you, you go out there, you misbehave, and uncle beat you, and you come home and cry to mommy. Mommy will beat you again. Okay? These days, people go to school, they beat them, and they are going to bend the whole school. All right. So, it's these days, we are very well, especially those of us in Accra. I mean, no uncle will come to your house without your knowledge. So that is limited. In terms of the in-laws and things like that, yeah, they brought us up, but now we say we don't want them. Okay? That's another matter. But you can limit them. There are ways to do that. You can talk and have discussion as to how often they come, when the children go to them and all that. So there is a way to do it. The most dangerous one is the social media, because you are not there. You can say you won't give them, you won't buy phone for them. That's fine. Up to a certain age, that's fine. But when they go to school, their friend has phones. Okay, because I mean, I got to a point. My kids, they knew how to use the phone more than me. They knew everything. And so that's where the values we inculcate into them, how we behave, they know the things we do, and what we will guide them to do and to avoid. So it's difficult. I won't say I have a solution. What for me and my children, they all had laptops. We got it for them by the grace of God. And as soon as they grow up, they have phone because we're always out. You communicate. So they have phones. I would say it's just the grace of God, whatever they... I don't know all the things they do. But not that I don't know all the things. I don't know 90% of the things they are doing on their phones. Recently, I had an issue. Somebody came and said, so for they are my Obani, they are to Instagram. So no idea. Because we travel somewhere. The young people are swimming or Bali near bikini idea into a channel now or they are called to Instagram. I didn't know. So I had to go check her Instagram. This thing, you think you are just sharing with friends, but one day, somebody will pick it up. So we had a talk. There was a cry. The account was closed down. I think later on I was blocked. So that's what can you do? So you just pray that whatever new account has been opened, later on when I saw that, okay, one has been opened, they were using it to teach how people can lose weight because she had learned how to lose weight and how to cook her own diet. And she started teaching people and had a lot of following of people who are learning. I said, thank God, though, they've moved from bikini to this thing. So we can only pray and encourage them, guide them when we see where they are going wrong, explain why things like this will not help them. And then the rest of it, grace of God. And that's where the prayer comes in. Yeah.
Any thoughts around that, homeschooling versus?
When I see people who are homeschooling, my friend Yao Pebi has 7 children, and he says he's homeschooling them. I look at him and say, Master, what being power? Because the day they leave one of them for me in the house, I tell the mother, I'm here, because so if you can, and I don't know if our system has room for that for the exams, and if you can do that for yourself, that's fine. But I think it has its advantages. You may want to show them. But sometimes, look, I personally think that my children were lucky because of the schools they went. Okay, because we left here, we lived in Lome for a very long time. Some of them went to the British schools. Actually, my children are 2 groups. There's the British ones and the French ones. Okay, so the 2 of them, they are totally bilingual because they went all the way through the French system, and the first 2 all the way through the British system. And they're meeting different people, different nationalities, so they don't have any esteem problems. When they meet the white people, they are okay. They because they've gone to school with them, they've beaten them in their class. So what's the problem? Okay, but when you have kept them in home and their own, I don't know that side, the social side, they may be shortchanged there. So you may gain in one way, you may lose in another side, because meeting the other side, meeting different people, interacting with them, and so forth, is also important for the growth of the children. Because when they get to that from that house and they go and they are going to lead, they are not going to lead just the house people. They are going to lead those people. So they have to learn from early how to interact with the Lebanese, how to interact with the French, how to interact with whoever. And that, I think, is important. So.
Okay.
Yes, boss. Okay, I'll give him the mic so that I don't talk again.
Thank you. We now say that we are in two worlds, virtual and physical. Children do not hate themselves. Just like we prepare them that they don't go to physical places that are dangerous, when we are able to prepare them very well, in the virtual world, they will not go to those places. So it is not don't go and those kind of restrictions, but education and awareness. So we parents should rather also try to learn some of those things on the social media, the internet, and be able to guide them. So that if they even perchance, even fall there, they can quickly retrieve and come back and even share some of those things with us. But when they know that when they come with some of those mistakes that they perchance fell into a prey and they come and tell you and your reaction is the accusations and you are a bad boy, you are a bad girl, then they keep it to themselves. So we should befriend our children and prepare them for them to know that they can navigate through the social media, the internet, which is also a new world that we cannot do anything away with it, with that kind of skills and competency. Thank you very much.
Center for the practical and insightful presentation. I'm looking at this reality in Ghana, whereby the wind of corruption is blowing everywhere. And to make it short, it seems parents are coming from this school of thought that our system spoiled, as in Ghana, the structure. And most parents are even moving their kids, those who have the means, are moving their kids from the country because of our structure. As an inexperienced parent, what would be your advice to me? That because this signal sends a certain danger out there to me. Because when the police arrest you, you have to pay. You know, corruption has eaten deep into the fiber of Ghana. And how do you psych us so that we get our children on the right footing? Thank you.
I thought I was not talking again, so I want the answers from. Well, I mean, you are right. This is a reality that is, and sometimes it's difficult for parenting in our part because we will say, all right, let's start with the children. But every day they are seen on the TV, they have squandered Auditor General reports, this minister is that, and nobody does anything about it. They go and brutalize people, and everybody says, some people say it's fine, some people say, the people have 2 hymn books. When they are in opposition, they are singing from one. When they go to government, they change it. That's what they do. Because see, when you just be careful. Don't come and arrest me when I come. You too, you'll be in trouble. Then they change. So it's tough. Okay? So as far as our children are concerned, it's our own behavior and what we do when the police arrest you. My people, they are saying that why do you're always giving things to people, but you don't want to give money to police people. I said, the police people, that's their work. Because it's become something, and I find it difficult giving, master, boys know how. I find it difficult doing that. But they are not the worst. And like that policeman said, the police corruption is just one city. But the big corruptions, nobody is doing anything about it. So I think for me, my principle is brighten your own corner. Do your best to live your values and let your children see the values you live by. And when this thing come up, talk to them and tell them, you see, this is not the right way to behave. This kind of behavior is not right. They will hear it, they will know it. But when the discussions come, when you are with them in the radio, in the car, and so forth, and these things are being discussed, share with them and share your views. And then that's all we can do. And that's what I do, by the way. And I don't know that it will help, but just now, dear,
Great, that's fantastic. But I just want to add that getting our children to know Christ is one of the most important things. And believing in the Bible. We are talking about values, but our values should not be outside God's word. Some of us, we don't make time for the Bible. But how can you raise children in this generation without teaching them God's word? That's what we stand for. They should know Christ personally. I always say that we should raise our children such that if I, God forbid, decide to say that Jesus is not Lord, my children will be able to stand and say, no, he is still Lord. That means a lot. That's why we treated a topic last year where we dealt up with shepherding the heart of the child. All that we are talking about has to do with the heart, first and foremost. Once the heart is aflame for God, once the heart is touched, is in tune with God, and the Holy Spirit is in charge, things happen differently. We were talking that some Muslims are better leaders than Christians. It's true, because we don't live the Bible and we don't follow the Holy Spirit, because it shouldn't have been that way. And leadership, as you said, is principles. But leadership principles are biblical based. When you go to the book of Proverbs, it's all there. The Bible has it all. We have it all. We have to start living it and practicing it. Then new leaders will emerge. The problem is big out there. But as he said, let's brighten in our corner. It starts with you, it starts with me. The way we raise our children from now. If at this level, I pay for my children's exam papers, what am I teaching them? BEC, people are paying. Admission to secondary school, we are paying. So what are we telling them? Let those children see us pay. To get admission to Wesley Girls, we are paying. Holy Child, we are paying. What message are we putting out there? The problem is with us. Let's learn to lead ourselves. And Ghana will be better if only you and I make up our mind to raise children that impact generations for our soon coming King. That's what we are about here. Thank you. Vera, please come and take us through our anthem and our pledge. We'll pray quickly. We'll take a group picture. Then we are gone. Thank you.
Please, the anthem, I think we've been given some sheets of papers. Okay. Please, can we be on our feet and take it? Children are a heritage from the Lord, a blessing and assignment. I am privileged to be a part and impart future generation. I have a mandate to raise. I have a mandate to raise. I have a and impart future generation. Okay, so mommy said we should personalize it, right? Okay, so we say that we should take it again. Children are a heritage from the Lord, a blessing and assignment. I am privileged to be a part and impart future generation. I have a mandate to raise. I have a mandate to raise. I have a mandate to raise and impart future generation. So even at home we can be singing. Okay, so we want to take our parenting pledge. We affirm these words so that every time we are reminded that it's a chart to keep. So I will say it, then you repeat it after me. My children are unique and special gifts that my Father in heaven has entrusted me. Said me with. I promise to nurture and train them in the ways of the Lord, such that they will grow to impart their generation. They will be usable by God, marriageable, and valuable to society. Amen. So we'll close our eyes and we pray. John 13 says that when you go to the verse 17, Jesus told his disciples, he says that now that you know these things, if you do them, you will be blessed. The Lord has shared through our speaker so many things and interactions. You want to ask the Lord for grace to be faithful to what you have heard. Maybe it's just one thing that you will need to apply. You want to ask the Lord for grace, for wisdom, that you'll be able to apply these things, because yes, our children must be usable, our children must impart generation, and we want to pray to God for grace. We want to pray to our Father for wisdom and understanding. Father, we are so grateful to you for today. We thank you for us. We are privileged because we have the most wonderful helper, your very Spirit, with us. And Father, we thank you for the wonderful truth you have revealed to us through your servant. We are so grateful and privileged to hear these things. Lord, we pray that we will not just hear them, but will be faithful stewards of what you have given to us today. I pray that you will help us to apply these things in our various callings as parents. I pray that if, Father, there is one challenge or the other any family represented here is going through, Father, through this fellowship, we pray that, Lord, your mercy will abound. Lord, as we gather together again and recall and reflect, Lord, what we have been able to do, we know that it will be praiseworthy. We thank you and bless you. We thank you for the life of our speaker, Mr. Sam Ayim. Lord, we thank you for what you are doing through him, oh God. We pray that you continue to bless him. As he has watered, we pray, Lord, water him in the name of Jesus and continuously use him to be a blessing. We thank you and bless you for an answered prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Fantastic. Please, have you filled your feedback? Please.